There are pretty much an unlimited number of ways that you can choose to spend, save, invest, and give your money. Being well balanced in all of these areas is crucial for your life. So today I want to give you 10 financial rules of thumb that you can use to make the most of your money. Our first rule is that personal finance is 20% head knowledge, 80% behavior. A solid financial plan looks good on paper, but putting it into practice can be a different story. So always remember to keep your emotions and your feelings in check whenever you're making decisions with your money, because when it comes to your money, using your head instead of your heart is pretty much always going to give you a better outcome long term. Our second rule is the 50-30-20 rule. This rule basically says that you should use 50% of your income on your basic needs, which are housing, transportation, utilities, food, and clothing. And I'm not talking about Gucci belts, Yeezys, or the newest Nikes.
$50,000 in 10 minutes on the f***ing walking.
I'm talking about basic clothing to cover yourself up. The 30 part of this rule says that you should spend 30% of your income on discretionary items like travel, eating out, or your hobbies. And lastly, the 20 part means that you should be saving or investing 20% of your income. Now, depending on your situation, like if you have a family, where in the country you live, and how much money you make, you may not be able to achieve saving 20% of your income, but some people may be able to do even more than this. The 50-30-20 rule is just a general guideline for a healthy financial life, so do your best to get pretty close to these numbers and save more if you can. All right, my third financial rule of thumb is that for every extra dollar you get, whether it's a raise or a promotion, try to save 50% of that raise. And this is a rule that I've actually made up. I haven't taken this from anyone else. If you're on a budget or are using the 50-30-20 rule, saving 50% of every raise will exponentially increase your wealth building potential, as well as give you the opportunity to spend and give what's left over. So my fourth financial rule of thumb is to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Here on Manifest Money Media, we are all about helping you become the best version of yourself financially, so consider subscribing and join us on the journey. All right, so my fourth financial rule of thumb is if you use credit cards, to pay them off entirely each month and to always use less than 30% of your credit limit. So for example, if you have a $10,000 credit limit, never spend more than $3,000 on this in a given month. Having less than 30% utilization is one of the biggest factors in your credit score and also helps you keep self-control when it comes to utilizing leverage. My fifth financial rule of thumb is about your vehicles, and it comes in two parts. The first part of this rule is made famous by Dave Ramsey, where he says that all of your vehicles, which is anything that has a motor in it like a boat, car, bike, or even a crazy lawnmower, the value of all of these things should add up to no more than half of your annual income. This basically just ensures that you don't have too much money in things going down in value, because anything with a motor in it is going to depreciate rapidly. The second part of this rule is popularized by a YouTube channel called The Money Guy Show, and it's the 23-8 rule. It basically says that if you're not going to pay cash for a car, which I highly recommend you do if you can wait and save patiently, put at least 20% down, pay it off in 3 years or less, and make sure that the payments are no more than 8% of your take-home pay. This again is just another rule to make sure that the vehicles you own aren't a crazy percentage of your net worth and income, and that you won't have to deal with the over $1 trillion in car debt that America has for too long. My sixth financial rule of thumb is called the 7-year rule. It basically means that any money you put in a well-diversified stock portfolio will double every 7 years. On a given year, the stock market averages a return of about 10 to 12% before inflation, so depending on your age, you could turn just a couple $100s a month into millions by the time you reach retirement. And speaking of retirement, my seventh financial rule of thumb is the 4% rule. Numerous studies have shown that when it comes to retiring or withdrawing from your nest egg, you can safely withdraw about 4% of the total value per year, such that you'll never have to touch your principal value and that your portfolio will keep growing or stay the same. So basically, figure out how much you want to take as an income for retirement and divide that number by 4% or 0.04. So if you want to have a yearly income of $50,000 at retirement, you would need a nest egg of about $1.25 million. You can also do the reverse of this. If you have a $2 million nest egg, you can safely withdraw $80,000 per year. My eighth financial rule of thumb is that your mortgage or rent payment should never be more than 25% of your take-home pay. In pretty much every situation, people's cost for shelter is pretty much the biggest expense that they'll have. Keeping your payment below 25% of your take-home pay ensures that you can actually afford the place that you live and that you're not stretched too thin so that you'll have money left over to save and invest. Last but certainly not least, my 9th financial rule of thumb is to give a percentage of your income such that you can meet all of these other rules. To me, helping others is such an important part of the human experience, and when it comes to your finances, giving money away is no exception. For some people, this may only be a single-digit percentage of your income, or even more than half of your income, like some of the wealthiest people in the world. Now, I can't give you an exact percentage to give because everyone's financial situation looks a little bit differently, but when you're looking at your finances or doing a budget, definitely consider giving away some percentage of your money to charities, nonprofit organizations, or people in your community that you know need a little bit of help. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.